Welcome to Linden Field in New Jersey. We just got on board the Citation X. We're just going to switch the avionics on and check the fuel state and see whether we're going to be flying direct to Halifax from here or whether we need to do a fuel stop. So I'm going to be using a couple of Elgato Stream Decks on the flight today. These are little programmable keyboards which are really handy for more complex aircraft, and I've mapped some of these keys to some of the buttons on the Citation X. So I'm just going to go through the power up procedure. And the first thing we need to do is check the state of the fuel. See, it's 1360 pounds, which will be enough to get us somewhere quite nearby, but certainly not enough to get us to Halifax. So right off the bat, we know that we're going to need to do a fuel stop. Let's just have a look where we can go into. I think we already checked the fuel prices at KCDW. That's the wrong fuel. So we checked the fuel price at KCDW, $6.97. There's also Teterboro at $6.99, $6.87 at KCDW at Essex County. So we're going to head up there. It's a very short flight, so let's put that in now. Get rid of the fuel layer, and then KCDW, add to routes, and just get rid of Halifax for the moment. So it's just a direct line between the two. Let's go ahead and check the what the winds are doing at each of the airports. So KLDW, show full screen, brings up Linden Field information, and then click on the weather tab, and that gives us a METAR. So it's 220 at 6. Good visibility, quite mild. 3022 is the altimeter. Let's go ahead and set that up now. Elevation is published at 22 feet, and we're reading about 20 feet, so that makes sense. It's just a bit of a safety check. We will pick up the ATIS as well, but this is live weather because it's, as I say, a real app. Let's have a check now on KCDW, which is Essex County. Winds there variable at 6, so we may be free to choose which runway we land on. So have a look at the map. So one of the features of ForeFlight is the extended centre line. So we can see we're probably going to go out of 27 at Linden, and we'll fly out, and then we'll head up towards the Mike NDB, and either go straight in 04 or depending on the ATIS, maybe fly around to 22 and land on 22. So 0422 is the longest runway there. Let's go ahead and tune the ATIS for Linden. 124025. So I haven't mapped all of the buttons. I used to do that originally with the Stream Deck, but it's not actually always very productive.
Deploy 0, altimeter 3023. Automated weather observation, Linden. Wind 200 degrees at 10 knots. Visibility more than 10 miles. Sky conditions scattered at 10,000. Scattered at 23,500. Temperature 16. Deploy 0, altimeter 3023.
Okay, so that is the ATIS for Linden.
Automated
what I'm going to do now is see if we can maybe able to get the ATIS from Essex County as well. It is fairly nearby. Let's check. 135. 5. Okay, so runway 22, so we're going to enter the downwind for 22. So, very quick flight. Unfortunately, the shorter flights in aircraft like this aren't actually that easy because obviously there's a lot happening. So we've got to really think about this before we depart. So we're departing out of 27. We're going to head up to the Mike NDB. And that should put us actually in the downwind position for 22 on the right hand pattern. So let's just make sure that is tuned. So we are on 392, and funnily enough I have that already tuned. Let's see if we can get an ident on that as well. That's on ADF1. No, I'm not getting any idents at the moment, but we should get one when we're airborne. But it's fairly simple really. I mean, we depart 27 and then we head northerly, and we should pick up on that NDB, and if not, we'll hopefully get visual with the field. In the area around the New York area, we're going to be limited to below 2,000 feet. We will be given a squawk just so that we appear on radar, and it will be a very short flight. So let's go ahead and set that up. Okay, so the nav lights are on, seatbelt signs on. I'm going to do just at the moment, it's just me and the co-pilot, so I'm going to just close up. And so far we're just running off battery. Normally I'd put the external power on, but what we will do is throw on the APU. And I do have some buttons mapped up for that as well. So turn the master on, quick test, and start. Just let that start up. You can hear that, it's a lovely sound. So we're going to be setting flaps 5 for takeoff today. Now normally I would go through the CDU and set that up for the flights, but it's a fairly short flight. I'm just going to use ballpark figures. So our V1 and VR won't be computed accurately. Just be we're going to go for a VR of 120, fairly light, so we'll get off the ground fairly quickly. Let's just open up the bleed and the generator. Oh, okay, there's the ident for the ADF, I think. It should be dash 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 dash. Okay, that's idented. ADF1 off. Okay, so the other thing is I am going to calibrate the rudder because it's I do this on every flight. It's very twitchy, as you can see actually. So I'm just going to calibrate. Just makes it a lot easier to taxi on the ground. Okay, that's done. Okay, so we'll put the ground anti-collision lights on. You see that flashing away there, and get our startup clearance. And so, starting engine 2 first of all, the brakes are set, starter engaged. That's 20, and fuel on. There it is. The temperature's rising. Let's go ahead and start one as well. The starter's now available. Fuel on. There's light up on number 1. Engine 2 stabilised. And the starter's disengaged. Okay. So we have, we will assume that we're going to get a transponder code. One of the things I use the Stream Deck for actually is to allow numerical entry for the transponder. So normally you'd have to do it here with the dials here, for example. But I have a transponder button and the number. So let's assume our transponder code is 1507. And let's put that on standby. Okay, taxi lights can come on. Okay, so before we go, let's just going to have a look at the ground chart. So on ForeFlight, it shows our aircraft overlaid onto the map there. So we're going to assume that we're taxiing Alpha to the hold point 27. So let's go ahead and start our taxi. APU is still on actually, so now the engine are running. Let's actually switch the bleeds on. Passenger oxygen I'm not going to bother with, of course. Generators on. And cross fuel transfers on both sides. Bleeds off, APU stop, and that can be spooling down and we're ready to go. Brake test, that's good both sides. So this Linden is actually part of some commercial software by a company called Drzewiecki, I think it is. I'll put the link in the description. It's part of a tri-pack of New York airports. The others being Newark, which is just a stone's throw from here, and also Essex County, where we're actually heading now. This is one pack, and there's another pack that's that has LaGuardia, Teterboro, and JFK. Right, let's set the flap. That's 5 degrees. We're going to go for takeoff today. We've got 2000 set as our altitude, and let's just trim for takeoff. As we're approaching the hold point, we can put the pitot on, landing lights on, taxi lights off, rec lights on, and the anti-collision on for flights. And just warn the passengers, who we don't have on board at the moment, that we're about to take off. And I can now switch to flight mode, and actually just before I do that, just check, yeah, the APU spooled down, so we can switch that off now, and that's off. Just pause for a moment. It's, one of the things about these hurried flights is tend to forget a thing, so I just want to have a quick check, and it looks absolutely fine. No warnings. We're not using oxygen today. Well, we're not using additional oxygen. Obviously, we're going to use oxygen. We're ready to go. Okay. It's really nicely detailed, this airport, I've got to say, very impressed. I'm quite a fan of this author's work. It's starting to sell on Orbx as a sales platform, but I think you have to buy direct from him for these New York packs. Just another quick thing about the autopilots. I'm going to use the autopilot. What I normally do is I get airborne, switch on the autopilot that will automatically set the attitude and hold that, and then I'm going to put it into vertical speed mode. I do have a flight page on the Stream X which has got some of the autopilot controls, so that's ready now. Okay, and I think we are ready to go. I just going to reset the heading, and there's a joystick button for that that I programmed. So put that in. In fact, we could actually set up the vertical speed now. Just set up 2,000 a minute. We're only going up to 2,000, and heading mode as well. Wrong button. Heading mode. There we go. Okay, we're ready. Brakes off. Rotate. Gear up. I'm going to take the 5 degrees of flaps up and then leave the slats open for the flight. Stick the transponder mode up onto TARA. There we go. So imagine we've been cleared 1000 AGL and then we're cleared to track north. There we go. And we can switch on ADF1 as well and track towards that. Just watch the speed a bit. And just adjust the heading so that we track inbound to the NDB. It's a nice day here in New Jersey. Good visibility. As you probably know, this is not ortho 4XP scenery. This is just your default X-Plane 12 scenery. Should have the landing lights on as well. So this should actually get us pretty close to the airports before we hit the NDB. And what we're going to do once we get there is we'll park up, plan the route, upload fuel as required, and get on our way to Halifax. let's set our descent to the pattern altitude, which is 1172. I'll set 1200 then. So speed mode. I'll start our descent very slowly. Just keeping an eye out for the airport. You should see it just off to the right very, very soon. Just a quick check, we are still tracking into the NDB. And when we hit the 1200 point, we'll to keep the throttle as it is and the speed will slowly bleed off. Should be seeing the airfield now, just off to the right. I think that's it coming up now. Five degrees of flap can come in. I think I set over to the right there. Yeah. I've got a bit of rain as well. So we're quite a wide pattern here, so let's just tighten that up a bit. So it's 2204. So if we head 060 approximately, should get us in a bit closer. And that's where these extended centre lines really work out well for lining up on the approach. If you don't have good visuals, which you don't really at this point, although I do see it here, it's just in the distance there. Let's get the landing gear down. And another stage of flap. There's the threshold there. So just projecting ahead visually, we can see the waterway here, which we'll use as a visual reference. Thank you. Let's get the autopilot off now as well. What I'm going to do is try to maintain the altitude. There's a bit of speed up in the turn. Okay, that's good. So if I head towards this bit of river, and then that'll sort of guide me on the base. There it is, a bit high, full flap. Gears down a lot, and turn to final. Bit high. Power all the way off.
500.
Okay.
$400. 300. 450. 200. 100. 50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Nice. Flaps up. VFR on the transponder and clear the mode. And APU on. Oh, fuck. Go away. Static off, anti-collision to ground, brake lights off, and landing lights off, taxis on. The bleed and generator on. And we'll park up just here on the left. Brakes on. Engine off. Generators off. Switch the external power on as well. Leads off. And packs off. Seatbelts off. And there we are. We are at Essex County and the door can come over. Okay, so let's remove Linden from there and we put in CYHZ. I think that's the ICAO code for Halifax. Let's have a look. Yeah, it's good. So in SimBrief then, let's put in KCDW and then CYHZ. Alternates, we'll put auto, and see what it gives us. Airframe Citation X, and is it by magic? CYQM is our alternate, that looks about reasonable. Let's check the rest of the detail here. That's pretty standard here, just make sure it has units as pounds. So not really much to change on here at the moment. I'll just check the route. Resi V39 CMK Merit HFTOK. I think this might be low level airway. Let's just check it's 5.4% over our optimal. If it's comes up below, much below 30,000, then we'll edit that. Yeah, that's not good. 17,000. So what's happened here is it's chosen a route that is a low level airway, and so we can either go back and edit it and just put in the altitude that we want, or we can actually manually put the route in. But what I'll do is I'll just go ahead where it says the flight level and put in the flight level that we're requiring for the route here. So let's put in 40,000 feet, for example, and just regenerates. $40,000 feet, okay. And there's our route there, okay. So the next stage is to generate the flight plan so we can pick it up on the aircraft. We could actually put it in manually, but I like to make this as automatic as possible. So we use SimBrief downloader, and should pick up on the latest SimBrief flight plan. Let's see, so KCDW, CYHZ, generating PDF, which is our actual flight plan, and then automatically sending flight plans to X-plane flight plan directory on both 11 and 12. Okay, just click the button to confirm. It is picking up. Okay, so I did plan this before, but I've obviously regenerated it with the latest data, so I'm okay to overwrite. That's why that warning's coming up. And there we are. And quit out of that. Quit out of that. So let's go into the aircraft, and we'll pick up on the flight plan inside. So just load our position, flight plan mode, load flight plan. So we're looking for KCDW, DWCYHZ, that one, activate, and that will give us our route all the way to CYHZ. That's great. Okay. What we'll do now is just check the weather at both ends. We want to know what sort of departure we might want to make from here and arrival at the other end. Let's have a look at the actual flight plan as well, because we also need to upload fuel. So there's our flight plan just come in. Quick look through here. So it says block fuel 4845, and obviously pretty low on here, 800, so we definitely need to add some fuel to the aircraft there. So put 5,000 pounds of fuel in. Unfortunately, it's built-in aircraft, but it'd be nice if there was like electronic flight bag or some option really to add fuel. This does take away from the experience a little bit. So let's put 5,000 pounds in. Okay, approximately. $5,060. So just quickly going through the trip fuel 233, 407 is our contingency, just over £1,000 of fuel to the alternate, and the final reserve 652. That gives us minimum takeoff fuel of 4545, and then a bit of taxi fuel, £300 of that. 4845 is our block fuel, so we are still over that, and that taxi fuel factors in our APU burn on the ground. What else do we have on here? Well, the other thing we have is the route itself. Now, one thing about ForeFlight is we can type the route in, just simply type in things here and it will try and recognise things. It's quite slow, but one little tip here is with a SimBrief plan, as we have here, we can select the routes leaving off the departure airport and the arrival airport. Let's make a mental note 04 for KCDW, which is interesting. It's the opposite end of the runway. And just drag that through to Peggy 5, which is actually an arrival into Halifax. Copy. And then into ForeFlight. What you can't do is click in between these two. Yeah. So what you end up having to do is to click one of them. So I've clicked on CYHZ, that's Halifax, and insert before, and it allows us to type then. And if you click into that field and click paste and then insert, that should push everything in there. So it's asking for the runway for Peggy 5 at Halifax. Let's have a look here. So we've got runway 32. 32. And for some reason, yeah, it's asking again. I don't know why it's doing that. Peggy 5 is our arrival and not our departure. So actually, just remove that and we'll stick that in manually. Problem now, of course, it's missed. For some reason, it's got rid of Brezzy. There's a little bit of a bug there in ForeFlight. I'm just going to insert before Victor 39 and BREZY, I think. Just check that. BREZY, yes. Insert. Yeah, okay, so that should be okay. Otherwise, the route just wouldn't add up. So this is, in ForeFlight, is purely for a visual reference. It makes no difference to our flight itself. Just out of interest, DCT means direct. It is just copied that from. It has to copy that from the flight plan. There is no NDB or VOR called DCT, and so actually ForeFlight will ignore it. But you can see the route now. 538 nautical miles. So let's set the rest of the plan up in the aircraft itself. Let's switch to the flight plan. So need to get the flight level, which is 400. So let's put performance in it and put that in here. So 400 initial cruise. Probably be given a lower one first of all. Fuel, well, we've loaded now, so we can just click to apply the current fuel state in there and initialize. Go to the takeoff page. And this gives us our takeoff data. We're going to put 5 degrees flaps instead of 15. And then page 2 will give us our V speeds, which now transmits over to the PFD, and then go through the other phase of flight, climb, that's a climb data, cruise, flight level 400, and descent, and then landing, and get to page 3 and we've got our landing speeds as well, and that's really what we want. No departure, no SID, Special Instrument departure from KCDW. We will set up the Peggy 5 arrival and the ILS or whatever other approach en route, but let's prepare the cockpit for departure. So these all of these screens I've got on hotkeys on the Elgato Stream Deck. Let's just get a view of that so you can see it. So I've got one button that does all of the screens, and then individually, and it remembers the positions, which is great, and the radio is a separate button. Really useful. Okay, let us set this up. Got the fuel on board, so seatbelt can come on. We will assume that we will have been given a clearance by ATC, and that will include an initial altitude. So let's have a look. It won't be very high, I wouldn't imagine, but our route does take us away from the action. So we'll assume that we'll be given 2000 again, and then we'll get clearance en route. We'll switch to FMS mode as well, and switch off any of the overlay dials. Okay, I think we are ready to close up and get going. I just had a text from our client who while we were chatting, is actually en route, so we'll be there on time, hopefully. Door can close when it's okay. Ground anti-collision light. Our APU is running nicely. And I've got the ECAS overlay here on the MFD, so we can see that's running nicely. Brakes set, and we are ready to start. So again, we'll start engine 2 first of all. And fuel on. Starters disengaged. Let's start engine 1. Go on. One's lighting up. Generators on. Crosswing transfers on the left and right. And passenger oxygen. Bleeds can come on as well. And we are ready to turn the APU off, bleed and generator off, and shut down. It's starting to spool down now. Okay. Reminder of the seatbelt sign. So just checking in to see whether we're going to take runway 0422. We're going to go for 04, so it'll be taxi via Papa down to hull point 04, and that will give us pretty well a straight out departure. So let us just check. We haven't got a squawk yet, we're expecting that at some point. Right, we're ready to go. So taxi light on, brakes off, And I'm going to go swing round to the left. Flaps 5. Put the control positions. What we'll do is come out to this outer taxiway. As soon as we're clear, we can test the elevators, ailerons and the rudder. Okay, nose up, nose down, bank right, bank left, spoilers out, spoilers return, trim for takeoff. As we're taxiing, what I'm going to do is put the departure runway in here just to let the flight management computer know. So our departure is 04 and activate. And that should pick up when we hit the threshold for 04. The only thing to watch out for, if you were if you were taking off from a large runway, and we're going to do it midway, not from one of the ends. You're going to go from one of the intersections. It won't pick up on the fact you're on the runway, and so you'd need to correct it, otherwise it would keep trying to route you back to the threshold for the runway that you put in. But not going to be a problem here. Okay, we're just waiting for our squawk. So let's put in a random squawk code in here, and then that's TARA, and we're ready to go. There's like a helipad there. Okay, APU can come off as well. Veto statics on, landing lights on, taxi off, brake lights on, and anti-collision light set to air. Okay, we have our clearance to enter and line up. We are going to be held here for a short time while our ATC is coordinating us with other traffic in the area. Okay, we'll have a quick check. That looks good. No annunciator, so we're fine. So sometimes I have the PFD in a large pop-out window for takeoff. Okay, we've just been given the runway heading to clearance runway heading till 1000 and then direct Brezzy. Okay, we're ready. Okay, let's go. airspeed alive. V1, rotate. Climb power. One stage of flap coming up. VS mode. Second stage of flap coming up. Looking for 1000 AGL. Should be about 1200 indicated. There it is. And then we'll put the nav mode on. So we're not far off track, so we can just switch to nav mode and it will then fly and intersect to our original track. If we had gone significantly off track, we could have gone onto the CDU and asked it to go direct to Brezzy. We're levelled at 2000 now, so it happens rather quickly. Have a quick check. So we have flaps up, the spoilers up, speed, we'll keep the speed fairly low. It does feel very, very fast. Obviously at this altitude we'd be looking for higher if possible, but we have to coordinate a little bit with existing traffic. Okay, we're just being cleared to 5,000 feet, so 5,000 set, speed hold. And the ECAS mode can come off now as well. Engine sync on. And 5,000 will be our altitude until Brezzy, and then we'll hopefully get some higher soon afterwards. Okay, ATC have just said direct volu, climb and maintain 12,000, so direct volu. Turning now, and 12,000 is the altitude. Speed hold. $12,000. Have to be a little careful on the flight level change mode, which is where it holds a speed, because it will very quickly overpower itself and you'll end up busting through any speed limits if you're not careful. You can see there we're hammering through. I've just thrown it into climb power and it's gone busting through. 8,000 feet a minute, it's madness. It's almost like a rocket. So cabin view. God, that must feel amazing actually. Very steep altitude. Let's see if we need any anti-ice. It's -7, just levelling off there. I'm going to stick the windshield anti-ice on, so we're about to climb through, and yes, we have been given our clearance to flight level 200. And switch to standard pressure. Climb at 290 initially. Okay, we've gone through 10,000 feet, so landing lights off, I'm going to keep the seatbelt signs on because we are still travelling through some clouds and convective weather. Just turning it with Volu and just continuing en route. Let's just check. Yep, okay, that's good. So just between a couple of layers now. Flight level 300. So let's just speed up, get up to about 310 in the climb without losing too much climb rate. That's our route there. I will be accelerating a little bit of this at some point, so I'm not going to make you sit through 2 hours of flight. We can also stick it onto VNAV mode. That will climb at our nominated climb profile. It will not, however, go above the altitude that we've set in blue here. So the reason it's now going to a much steeper climb is because the little magenta arrow there is our climb speed, so we're climbing faster than we should have been according to the flight computer. That's correcting that now. And let's head up to flight level 400, which is our final. So what it's doing now is adjusting the nose pitch to maintain that climb speed, which is currently determined here 270, and that is in our flight profile. So 270, it will switch over to Mach 0.78 at some point. And we're now clear of cloud and I'm comfortable it's nice and stable, so seatbelts can come off. Obviously we don't have anyone on board, it's just me and the co-pilot. So 10,000 more to go. So while we're doing that, just check the weather for our destination. So if you have forgotten what it was, CYHZ I know, but click on the CYHZ tablets in the flight plan here and click show full screen, and then click on the weather tab, which is already on. So we've got 310 at 12, 15 statute miles, view 26,000, temperatures 2, -10 dew point, 3027 is our altimeter. Okay, so that's good. So which runway are we likely to get? So it looks like runway 32, and we can have a look at the procedures as well. So on the approach, we do not have an ILS there, but we do have an RNAV, and so that's what we will go for, RNAV Zulu. That one there, in fact what we can do there is beam that onto our map, which is very, very good. And then as we approach, we can actually visually see our plan in front of us. at some point soon we're going to enter that into the flight management computer, and we need to choose a starting point for that procedure, which will probably be MBAX, which is the one here, and then 3-2 and then land off there. Just have a look at the height. So Vokil would be at 3000, and then we start our descent profile just before Dutza and past Dutza at 1800 feet. Okay. The other thing we can do while we are looking at this is just put the ATIS in, so that's 121.0 for Halifax, and have that ready. Also, we can put in any nav aids that we want. So YHZ VOR at Halifax 115.1, we can stick that in. And if there was an ILS that we were going to use, then we could put that in as well. Let's stick that and put that in there. There we are. How are we doing on the height? So one thing I do find with this aircraft, I don't know if it's accurate, but it's tends to oscillate quite a bit on the vertical speed. So I normally don't fly in VNAV mode on the climb. I'll put it into vertical speed and then set that manually. That then gives me a nice stable climb profile. As we get higher, of course, we lose the ability to climb. So we might be setting that at 3,500 feet lower levels, and it's now nearer sort of 1,500 to 2,000. And if we were going much above 40,000, probably down to 1,000 feet a minute or 1,500. So it has now switched over to Mach 0.78 mode, which is our climb profile. How are we doing? We've got a small tailwind, about 48, 47 knots, ground speed 494. That's great. Always welcome. If you had any passengers, I'm sure they'd be sitting back and relaxing with a glass of their favourite beverage. We're just approaching 40,000 feet, which is our cruise. We are, let's have a look at our progress. On the progress page, got 326 miles to our top of descent, 45 minutes from here. And to CYHZ it's an hour and 20, so as I say, I'm going to accelerate in a moment, and we'll meet you back as part of the descent. See you soon. Well, welcome back. Here we are just past Tusky, en route to CYHZ. Just been given Peggy 5 arrival, runway 32 RNAV, and so we're going to put that now into the system. So under the nav tab we click arrival, runway will be 32. It's the RNAV. Now let's see where we're going to have the Yankee or Zulu RNAV. We've got Zulu there, 32 Yankee. We're going to go for, I think we go for Zulu actually, 32. And MBAX will be our starting point for that. The arrival, the star will be the Peggy 5, and that be Peggy 532, runway 32, via Tusky, which we've just passed. I'll just activate that. Now it's screwed that up a little bit. We need to just quickly make a bit of a change here. What it's trying to do is turn us back to Tusky, which we've just passed, and I just had to lock that out of the flight plan, so hopefully that's corrected now. Let's see what we're doing on the altitude as well. It's top of descent 33 miles 4 minutes. And what we can do here to preempt that is obviously we normally follow ACC instructions for our descent, but I like to do, just as a reminder, is to set a lower altitude, say flight level 300, and then stick on VNAV mode. And what that will do is they'll then follow the descent profile when it gets to the top of descent. Let's beam that. I think we already beamed it to the map, but just to make sure. And what we're missing here is on ForeFlight there isn't any. We're currently just following a direct line from Tusky to Halifax, as you can see. So what we can do is we can now put in a procedure here. So this is purely visual, it's not going to affect any part of our flight. Put the arrival in as Peggy 5, that'll be via Tusky, runway 32, add that to the route. And you see how that's now starting to form, and then go back and put in our approach, and it's the RNAV Zulu 32, which is that one there, via MBAX. Add that to the route. So there we are, beautiful detailed plan of how we're going to land at Halifax, and we can have a look at the airport as well. So 32 is one of the shorter runways, more than enough space for us, and actually we anticipate we probably will be wanting to come off at hotel and parking up at this sort of area from past experience. So how are we doing? 15.5 miles to top of descent. And we don't need to keep the CDU open because TD top of descent also appears on the MFD, so just keep an eye on that. And we can actually zoom out far enough, we'll actually see the approach, but I like a more macro level view so we can see all the traffic around us. ForeFlight's just telling us the ATIS is 121.0. We have already put that in there, so we're just listening out. Are there any nav aids we need to identify? Well, we put in 1151, which is the YHZ VOR. So what I could do now is just click identify. And actually it's not on here. So if you want to know the Morse, you can just click anywhere on the screen, it will come up with a number of near matches, and click on the right thing. YZ, actually it's just added that to the route, which is not quite what we wanted to do. But what I can do is put YHZ in here. And there it is there. And gives us the Morse code. And that's correct, YHZ is identified. Switch that off before it drives us nuts. And the other thing to note, actually, while I was yapping away, is we've started our descent now, so it's set up our descent, so we need to pull back the power a little. But one thing I haven't done, partly because I've accelerated the flight, is to for each of the waypoints is to check the progress in terms of fuel. That's really important, going to be very important the next leg. So what I mean by that, bring the flight plan up. So for example, the last point we got to was Tusky, and it says that we should have 2.8 tons of fuel, which we have 2.8 exactly now. You can see here 2.8, and we're way past Tusky, so we're a little bit ahead. What we do find actually on the longer flights is you tend to burn fuel slightly faster in the initial stages, and then it balances out. It's very important though, because obviously all of our contingencies are based on burning the amount of fuel we expect to burn. The other thing I've noticed here, we're a little fast actually. We should be at Mach 0.78, so I'm just going to bring the throttles back, because obviously all our fuel calculations are based on that. So Mach 0.78 is enunciated there, and you see the little triangle indicating what that would be on the speed strip. So we're just approaching, just passing flight level 330 with a 300 base. So let's go for a further descent to 200. And we can also check our altimeter, 3027. So update this on the scratch pad. 027. We are listening out for the METAR from Halifax, but in flight you can get digital weather. This is real-time weather. Obviously, ForeFlight, X-Plane does actually pick up on it, but there's a slight difference. So just so you know, this in purple here is our is really where we could descend to if we wanted to, and that's determined by any height restrictions on here. And you see when it's written in a larger font, that's in this case is a fixed height, so we have to be at 5,000 at no tub. And then you see the next MBAX, we need to be 4,000 or above. 3,000 or above at Vokil, and Dutzer 1,800 and above. So that's what the A means. B as a suffix means below. Sometimes a bit of confusion, people think the A means at, but actually that's not the case. If you're meant to be at a fixed altitude, then it will be written like this, 5,000 in this case. Lovely day here. See, that's one of the beauties of having these screens as pop-outs, so you can just quickly pop them down just to give you a better view. go back in the weather, see if there's anything of concern. So the wind's pretty well down the runway, 12 knots, cloud completely clear of cloud, nothing really to affect, so that should be a nice approach. The other thing is, because I've accelerated the flight, one thing it doesn't do is accelerate the time of day. So sometimes what I will do is I'll just advance the time of day, which I'm just doing now, just to make up for it. So I'll let the speed drop a little bit too much and just get back up to the magenta. Okay, that's the ATIS received.
Halifax to Stanfield.
And what I'm going to do is just bring up CDU again. I want to make sure there's no discontinuities, and there shouldn't be at this point. So it takes us down to the runway and then the missed approach. Let's have a look at that as well while we've got time. Things start happening very quickly if we let things get in on top of us. So the missed approach will be climbed to 3000, track 323 to Theta, so it's pretty well. It's runway heading, which is great, and then hold at Theta at 3000. And the alternate is not implemented at the moment in this aircraft. So that's how we're doing with this. So it's going to be at 13.7, so pretty well on target, I would say. That little magenta triangle indicates we are on sort of correct sort of vertical speed profile. We're a little fast again. I'm not doing a very good job here. It is holding the vertical path, but it's obviously it doesn't have an auto throttle on this aircraft, which does actually mean you have to work a little bit harder. So I'm quite amazed actually that I'm loving this built-in aircraft so much. I did fly the Coronado Citation to S550 on X-Plane 11, loved that, until I upgraded my operating system and it didn't work anymore, which was a very dark day for me. So when X-Plane 12 came out, and I took great interest in this particular aircraft. Right, it's levelled out. I just realised it's levelled out 20,000, so we actually need to put the VNav back on there. I'll probably actually switch to VS. That's better. And catch it up a little bit. And we'll put that down at 14,000. And we should now, because we've been assigned below flight level 180, let's put the altimeter in as well. So onto the scratch pad, 3027 standard, 3027. Okay, let's see if we can catch up a little bit. Our little triangle has gone pretty low there, so we need to descend to try to catch up. And I think this mark here, this vertical line, indicates that as well. Oh no, actually I think that's our rate of descent, which at the moment is 3,000 feet a minute. Start to just pick up now, so hopefully if we put VNav on, that should capture that again. So the next leg, 33.6 to be at 5,000, well, I'll probably hold at 14,000 for a bit because it won't take that long. Let's see, 14,000 to 5 is 9,000 feet. Doing about 6 miles a minute. So 33, that's about 5 minutes. So 2,000 feet a minute descent rate would be okay, and actually if we did 3,000, that would be only 3 minutes. Probably start that about 20 miles from no tub. Very rough calculations here. Or we could simply bring our altitude down, let the flight management computer handle it, so let's bring us down to say 8,000. You see what's happened now, it's levelled off. Oops, go away. Right. It's levelled off because we don't need to start descending too early. Now it's coming down. I'm all over the place here. Let's see if that'll correct itself. No, it's not. Let's put it into vertical speed mode then, and do about, we'll set up about 2,500 feet a minute. And if we arm the VNav, it should then hopefully pick up on that. And let's stick on VOR1, that's YHZ. Approaching 10,000 feet, so landing light on, fasten seatbelt sign on. I also switch the emergency lights on as well, which puts these lights on, and if we were flying at night I would have the probably turn the cabin lights off at this point, or maybe nearer the sort of the final stage. What's happening here? It's levelling off again, that's not good. Oh no, it's alright, it's just catching up a little bit. So let's set our altitude now to 5,000, which is what we need to be at no tab. So I've set a little, just a little rocker switch on the joystick for the altitude. You really do need to use as much automation as possible and try to avoid keyboard shortcuts as much as possible. And so the you know, having the joystick and the throttle unit, I've got the Bravo throttle, which is fabulous, and the Elgato Stream Decks really means that I'm not having to click much in the cockpit at all, which is really good. It's somewhere out there. And the other thing to do, actually, just have a quick look on the chart, see if there's any speed limits. Maximum 210 at MBAX, so we do need to start coming back a little bit. Not quite at MBAX, so it won't be long before we are. That's the 1,000 to go warning. Or once we pass no tab, we can put 4,000 in and get down there. So you see the beauty of the flight management computer. It's actually absolutely orchestrated that descent to a T. We're just approaching 5,000, just past NTAB and to MBAX, so we can bring it down to 4,000. And we'll do speed hold now. And put it into VS. Speed hold's rather good, but it's not so easy to control your descent rate. And let's put the slats out. And we'll have to level off at 4,000, and then it's a step descent. And then once we're past MBAX, we can go to 3. Keep the speed just below 210. One thing I found in this aircraft actually is on the final approach, even if you don't need full flap, you really do need it for the visibility. It's quite challenging without. Right, so okay, we can go down to 3,000 now. Let's put vertical speed mode. And a nice, doesn't need to be so aggressive. Let's put 1,000 feet in a minute. I'm guessing that's Halifax out there. So the next will be the base turn, 323 final approach, and we can put the approach mode on as well, which will hopefully will guide us down, or we can just fly it visually as it's such a nice day. There's 3000 and the base turn starting now. And I'm going to hit the approach mode now to arm that, and that should hopefully guide us down on the glide path. VGP standing for vertical glide path, of course. And Dutza's next one should be at 1800, which means we'll have started our descent by then. So, to do our check, we have turn the engine sinks off, taxi lights on, landing lights should be on, seatbelt signs are on, and we're ready to land. And just make sure it engages a vertical descent, which it is. And we'll put a stage of flap in at 5. 3 to Dutza, so we need to do a height check at Dutza. That 1800 should be, and that make sure we got our altimeter set correctly. And we can also stick the gear down now as well, I think. I think I see the runway straight ahead. It's not very clear because it's right, kind of in the middle of nowhere, but yeah, it looks distinctly like a runway to me. We'll fly the approach initially at 160. Hopefully we have V-speeds, hopefully we've got our landing speeds. Yeah, so 117 is our VREF. Looks like we've lost internet. Let's just turn Wi-Fi off and on and see if that restores it. Yeah, it's lucky it happened at that point. Oh, there we are. It's gone home. It does happen with ForeFlight a little bit. It might be my internet connection that loses it, and suddenly, as you see, it lost it just before the turn of Vokil. Next stage of flap in, 15 degrees. Let speed back a little bit. We've got plenty of runway here today, so not too worried about it. Quick check, the gears down, spoilers are retracted, and we'll put the final stage of flap at about the sort of 2 mile points. It's pretty well coming up now, actually. Power, 2 mile, there we go. And final flap. Keep the speed up. It's a very nice day though. You see what I mean? It really puts the nose down. It's excellent for landing, even if you don't need the extra benefit of the lower speed. It really helps. It's beautiful. This forestry. It's amazing. Shame about the temperatures, I suppose. Okay, I'm going to take it off and start earning my wage. I have control. Landing clearance.
$400, 300, 200, 100, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10.